Hey guys, it's Jenny. Thanks for joining me for today's video. So today I want to talk to you about selling consignment on eBay. So for the past about 6 months, I have been selling items for other people. So these are people that have come to me and said, I know you are a reseller. I know you sell items on eBay. Can you sell my stuff for me? So that's basically what consignment selling is. It's having somebody else sell their items. There's consignment shops out there. There are brick and mortar shops where, that's all they do. Like Plato's Closet is a consignment store. You take your items to them, they sell them for you, and you get a small percentage of the profit. And so that is what I want to go into. Hopefully this video will be helpful for those of you who are curious about consignment. Maybe you're already a reseller and it's something you maybe want to try and you're not too sure about. So hopefully this will be helpful. I am by no means an expert. I've really only been selling on consignment for a handful of months. It's not something I have a ton of experience in, but I still wanted to share the process and my insight that I have gained over those few months. So I'd like to go over a few tips and then also a few pros and cons. And then at the end of the video, I'll share a few things that I have sold through consignment. And let's get started on the tips. So tip number 1 is to tell people what you do. So share with anybody that cares or is interested that you're a reseller. Tell people what you do. You can't go wrong. A lot of people aren't even going to know what you mean when you tell them you're a reseller. I didn't know what it was for the longest time until I became one. And tons of people out there have tons of stuff that they want to sell, right? So you never know who you're going to meet, or where you can meet them or when. So just, that's my number 1 tip, is to just share with people what you do, whether it's friends, family, or, could be strangers, could be somebody you meet at a garage sale, for example. Maybe after their garage sale is done, they didn't sell everything. Maybe they would want to give it to somebody like you to sell for them. That's just a possible example. So the 2 people that I have personally been selling for, one is a friend of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law shared with one of her friends that I was a reseller, and so she reached out to me, had a bunch of stuff to sell, and so that was the start of a good relationship there. And then the other was, I had some boxes I put out on the curb outside of my house for free, with just a sign saying free boxes. And a gentleman came along and picked them up and chatted with me for a few minutes. And it turns out he had a ton of Stetson hats to sell, or that he wanted to sell that didn't have time to himself, whatever. And he has a ton. He dropped off at my house, 50, 75, mostly vintage cowboy hats. Lots of them are Stetson. Anyway, and so that was just somebody that I met by chance because they came by to get free boxes outside my house. And it turned out to be a really great thing. Tell people what you do, because you never know, who's going to ask you to sell stuff for them. Tip number 2 is don't sell yourself short. So know what you're worth, know what your time is worth. When you're reselling for somebody else, it's still cutting into your time. It's still a job. And I guess you need to be upfront with people about how much of a percentage or a cut that you plan to take or that you need to take. Some people won't get that. They won't understand. Some people totally will. Just decide whatever percentage that you need. It kind of depends on the item. If you're selling higher ticket items, like more expensive items, say you're selling a high-end Gucci suit for $600. For items like that are, super high-end, you can take a lower cut and it will still be worth your time. I'd say for something like that, 25%. But For the items that I personally sell, which is mostly clothing, you know, I'd say really anything like under $100, maybe even like anything under $200, it's going to be 50%. So for me personally, 40 to 50% is the cut that I need to take to make it worth my while. If it is something super expensive, you know, hundreds or thousands of dollars, then it could still be worth your time to take a smaller percentage. But just be upfront with people, you know, it's not going to be worth your time to take a 15% cut of something that you sell for $20. Unless you're doing, you know, selling things for, say, like a family member or a close friend, and it's like a favor, you know, you're doing them a favor, you don't need to make a huge amount of money off of it. But in general, I would say 40 to 50% is what you should be asking for. And that's personally what I have been doing, is going 50-50 with my consignees. Tip number 3 is to keep your consigners in the loop. Keep communicating with them throughout the process, especially in the beginning. You want to set them up with realistic expectations, time frames, you know, explain to them that things don't always sell quickly. They might be sitting for a while before they sell. You may even want to consider having them sign a contract, especially if it's not somebody, you know, that you know and trust. If it's just a stranger and you're selling their stuff for them, you know, you might want to have a contract that you both sign, just to make sure, you know, if anything goes wrong, you have that in case. And then just be realistic, I guess. Again, it depends on the item, but about how much an item is worth. You may get pushback from a lot of people when you tell them that something they thought was worth $200 is only worth $60. Just do your best to be realistic and upfront with people. And, you know, you can always tell people no. You can always turn them away. Or if they, I guess if they're going to be too much to deal with, or if they're not going to allow you to do the job that they're paying you to do, then, you know, you can always let them go, or, you know, just tell them, ask them nicely to sell the items themselves. So, you know, tell them upfront how you'll be paying them after the items sell, you know, sort of get an idea of how quickly they are hoping things will sell. You know, you might get somebody super laid back and relaxed, which is what my experience has been. I haven't had any issues with either of the people that I've consigned for. They've just been super chill. They've had a lot of patience. You know, they haven't bugged me like every day asking what is sold and what hasn't. You know, they just have waited for me to come to them, which is great. But not everyone will be like that, of course. So yeah, just advise people that they might need to be patient. And, you know, maybe even set like a time limit. Say, you know, you could tell them if it doesn't sell within like 3 months, then we'll just have to let it go and give it back. You know, it just, you kind of have to feel out the situation. It depends on the individual and the items. So tip number 4 is to not allow yourself to get overwhelmed. Depending on how much you want to consign, like if it's something you want to do full time, that's one thing. And I guess you will have to set up a lot of organization for yourself within your business. However, if you're more like me and you're just kind of a typical reseller where most of the items you're selling, you're going out and sourcing by yourself, you know, for yourself, purchasing them outright and flipping them. If you're more in that category, then yeah, I would say, you know, don't try to take on too many consigners at once. So, you know, for me, I just have a couple right now, and that's enough for me. Being a part-time reseller, I would want no more than I would say like 4 or 5 people at a time that I'm selling for. I think it would just get too complicated, too chaotic, and, you know, you have to keep the items all separate, keep track of everything that sells. There's a lot of math, you know, that goes into just calculating, taking out all the fees and taxes, finding out how much exactly you've profited from the item, and then, you know, splitting that cost with them, sending them the money. You get what I mean? It can just get to be a lot. So just, and then the items, you know, depending on how much extra stuff you have to be storing while you're waiting for it to sell. I just feel like it could get chaotic. So yeah, just know your limits and don't try to take on too much at once. Okay, so now I'd like to go over some pros and cons for consigning items for other people on eBay. First con is you can't keep all of the profit. So you're selling something for somebody else. Obviously, you're not going to be keeping all the profit once that item sells. In my case, I'm splitting it 40% to 50% with the consigner. So it's not like going out and, you know, thrifting items at a super low cost and then you get to keep all the profit. You know, it is something being handed directly to you, and then you get to keep just a percentage of the profit. Another con is that you don't get much say or control over the items that you're selling. So, you know, maybe you typically resell women's clothing like I do, but somebody wants you to sell, you know, like, I don't know, kids' toys or something. So you either, you know, agree to do that or you don't. Maybe you choose to sell those things on a different platform than you normally would. Maybe open up a new eBay store or account and sell them separately from what you normally do. Whatever works for you. But yeah, I guess can be a con to sell stuff that you're not used to or necessarily very informed on selling. You may have to do some extra research in order to be successful at selling those items. Another con is the time that goes into it. I've realized over the time that I've been doing this that it has tended to take more time for me to not only prepare the items, you know, clean them, get them photo ready, but also to do the research on some items that I'm not familiar with and wouldn't typically search out myself. So just the time that goes into it. Also communicating with the consigner takes up some time. Doing all the calculations to make sure you're paying them the right amount after the item is sold. So it can be, you know, it can, yeah, be costly when it comes to time. However, you know, you are also saving time by not having to go out and handpick items. And that segues nicely into a pro, which is you don't have to go out and thrift or, you know, go to garage sales or the bins or whatever to find the items. Whoever is giving them to you is just generally either delivering them to you, maybe you go pick them up, but either way, it takes less time than going out and hand picking items that you normally would as a reseller. So it does save time in that way. So I guess it kind of balances out. So another pro to consignment selling that I've seen is that you may be given some pretty nice stuff to sell. So for example, Stetson hats. One of the people that I sell for gave me a ton of, you know, nice vintage Stetson hats, which are pretty expensive. And, you know, I'd say the average price that I sell them for is $65, $70. And they're really not that hard to, you know, photograph and list and all that. So I've also sold like leather Harley chaps, leather Harley Davidson vests. The other person I sell for gave me a ton of Harley stuff, a ton of motorcycle gear, which can be pretty high in price. So they also gave me like a really nice suitcase that sold for like $200. So yeah, just in my experience, and I probably got a little lucky with the people that I've come across to co-sign for. Not everybody is going to give you super nice stuff. In fact, it might be the opposite. Sometimes people want to just like push all their junk on you. And that's when you kind of have to, you know, set some boundaries and, you know, or maybe come up with a list of brands or items that you are interested in selling and, you know, just politely decline everything else that is not worth your time. But yeah, the point is that you might be selling some pretty nice stuff that will be good for your pocketbook as well as your store. So another pro is that you are building relationships with people and you're networking. I think it's great whenever you can build a new professional relationship, you know, expand your circle of acquaintances, people that you know, and yeah, just building those networks with people. You never know who you're going to meet or who you might meet because of you know, the selling that you do and the new people you meet. Okay, so I started this consignment selling journey back in July of 2021. It's now December, so it's been just about 5 months that I have been consigning. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm certainly no expert, but hopefully some of these tips and pros and cons have helped. And I did just want to share how much I have actually profited over the last 5 months consigning. So I have profited a total of $835, which works out to about $167 a month. That's the extra income, extra profit that I've been making for the past 5 months just by consigning items for people. And again, just keep in mind that it's very part-time for me, the consignment. I am a part-time reseller, soon to be full-time, but I do put in about 20, 30 hours a week, I would say, total on my reselling, including the consignment. So maybe that can give you some kind of idea. It hasn't been a ton of money, but definitely worth it to me. Definitely worth the experience, you know, and some of the items I've got to sell are really pretty cool and interesting. So I did want to share a few items that I've sold for these people. I'm just going to pull them up on my eBay app here, and you can see them right up here. Just a few things to share. This is a Stetson AS Rancher. So this is a vintage Stetson hat. And it's definitely the most expensive hat that this person gave me to sell for them. It was not brand new, but it was in excellent condition. He kept it really nice. And it sold for $120, which is great. Yeah, something that I, you know, never would have picked up myself, or, you know, I feel like these hats would be really difficult to find, like out at a thrift store, you know, maybe you come across them, but I'm definitely no expert when it comes to finding hats like these, especially vintage. So I feel like I really, you know, was lucky or blessed to have this gentleman want me to sell his hats. Yeah, it's pretty cool. You can see this is like the tag that was on the box. It came with the box, and yeah, just super cool. I did have to haggle the price a few times, but eventually I got what I wanted for it. So that was fun. And again, $120 is pretty nice for something that, you know, somebody wanted me to sell for them. I'll take it. Okay, this is another cowboy hat. This is not a Stetson, this is the brand Resistol. It's the Montana hat. It is a tan, hand creased, self-conforming. Resistol has a lot of, that's one of their types of hats, is self-conforming. Let's see here, some more pictures. You can see like a lot of the hats had like moth damage and some staining, so I did have to spend quite a bit of time cleaning them. But you know, I just did my research on how to clean these types of hats. I'll actually show you guys just an example real quick that I had here. So they're like felts. They're usually made of beaver and or wool fibers. And they're, you know, you got to be careful when you're cleaning them. And, you know, you can tell this guy was like a rodeo guy or something. There's, you know, quite a bit of them that had staining on them and some moth holes from moths getting into them. So yeah, I just had to do my research on how to clean them, you know, and get them ready to actually get them to, you know, be as nice as possible before I took pictures and sold them to people. Let's see, how much did this sell for? $75, and it was a size 7 1/4. So let me share a few things from the other person that I've been consigning for. So this was a set of 12 dinner plates. They are a discontinued line of plates. I can't tell you where they were sold. I want to say they used to be sold at Macy's, but these are vintage, you know, they're discontinued. They're really popular, pretty hard to find. And they are 12-inch dinner plates. They have a unique pine cone design. They're called the Tian Shan Folk Craft Holiday Pines. You can see the on the back there, the label. So yeah, I sold the whole set for $60. I really wanted more for it, but after haggling with a couple different people and also just communicating with my consigner, the person who gave them to me, she said to just go ahead and take the $60 for them. They were pretty expensive to ship. I want to say they were $24 to ship just because they're so heavy. So when a buyer's paying that much for shipping, you know, sometimes you gotta be willing to take a lesser price than you originally hoped for. But yeah, so that was a cool thing there. Well, last item I'll share with you guys, this is a pair of motorcycle gloves. They are made with Kevlar. They're Thinsulate. And so they are leather padded motorcycle gloves. I was hoping to get more than $18 for them, but I did go ahead and settle for that. And I'm sure my consignor was fine with that as well. Yeah, pretty cool pair of biking gloves, size large. And yeah, this person who I sold these for, she also gave me a ton of like Harley gear, like a leather. I also sold a leather Harley vest. I still have listed a pair of Harley Davidson leather chaps. Those I originally listed for $198 because those are very expensive, brand new. And I'm hoping to get, you know, between $100 and $150 for them, like minimum like $100. So we will see how that goes. Okay, you guys, well, thanks for joining me for the video. I hope all the information I've shared has been helpful. And if you are considering doing consignment on eBay for your reselling business, I think it's worth it. I would say go ahead and give it a try. There, you know, like anything, it's trial and error. You'll learn a lot. You'll meet some new people, and I hope this video has been educational for you. Have a good day, guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.